everyone, it's Miss Julianne from the Wakanda Area Library, and I am here with our August STEM kit, and it's going to be all about engineering challenges. So you're going to get 4 cards, and each card is going to have a different engineering challenge. You're also going to get a sheet of paper that talks about the STEM engineering process and a sheet of paper that talks about different types of bridges, because one of your challenges will be to build a bridge out of newspaper. So I want to show you your supplies, and we're going to talk a little bit about engineering and bridges and buildings, and then I'll show you a little bit about how you want to start your challenges, but I'm not going to give you the exact answers because they're challenges and I want you to build them, and there is no right way to do them. They're just challenges and I would like you to try them. So first things first, we're going to talk about the engineering process, or what people in STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math, like to call the engineering process. And it boils down to just a few simple steps. So the first step is ask, right? So we want to ask a question. So what's the problem and what are we trying to fix? So if we're talking about a bridge, right, the question would be, why do we need a bridge? What are we trying to get over? How are we going to get over? Because then that depends on what we're going to be building a bridge for, right? Are we building a bridge over a river? Are we building a bridge over another road? Are we building a bridge over land? Is it just a man-made bridge? You know, does the bridge have to be high? Does it have to be tall? So we ask questions. That's the first thing we do. The second thing we do is we imagine, right? We use our brains and we think about a solution. What might it look like? What might we want to do? Are there ways to do it? We use our brains and we let them kind of go wild so we can think about a solution. The third thing is plan. We then start planning. What can we just imagine? How can we make that happen? So we start writing down our ideas and we start planning ways that we could possibly do them. The fourth step is to create. So now we're going to try to make those plans actually happen. So for an example, I want to make a newspaper bridge, right? Because my problem is I need something to test how many pennies I can hold. All I have is a newspaper and some tape, and I can use any other household edges that I have. Okay, so that's my scenario. My question is how am I going to do that? Well, I know my supplies, so I'm going to start using my imagination. I'm going to think about how much newspaper do I have? How much tape have I been given? Where can I maybe put that? And how many pennies do I have to hold on to it? Or what do I need to put on it? So I'm going to think about that. I'm going to draw up some plans. Then I'm going to try to create it. I'm going to get my newspaper out. I'm going to get my tape out. I'm going to try to tape it from one edge of a table to another. What happens after that? Can I get the tables close enough to each other? Do I have enough newspaper? Will it be strong enough? Well, that's when you test. So say I have the newspaper out. Now I'm going to test it. And it's very possible that I put a couple pennies on it and that bridge collapses. And that is A-okay. Because the next one after test is improve. Because just like anything in science, there is no wrong answer. There's only improving. So it's okay if you don't get the result that you want to begin with. You're just going to do it again a little differently and see if you get better results. I had one very wise kid tell me a couple years ago that fail is just a first attempt in learning in science. So I don't ever think of it as a thing that you can fail. You're just learning and you're going to improve on it. So that is the engineering process. And I want you guys to refer to that when you're doing your challenges, because some of these challenges are really tricky. I am a grown-up and it took me several tries and another grown-up's help to do some of the ones with the playing cards. With these guys right over here. Your last 2 challenges are with playing cards, and your first 2 challenges will be with newspaper. So it's okay to ask for your grown-up's help. It's okay to write down plans. I want you to think about that scientific engineering process. So the next thing I want to talk about a little bit is engineering itself, right? Like, we're not doing grand scale things. We're not building real buildings. We're not going to build real bridges because all we have is some playing cards and some newspaper. But we are going to build small towers and small bridges. And small castles, or whatever you want to call whatever you're building. And that's okay. But there's some main things. You always want to think about support, right? For us, we've got kind of lighter materials, which make things hard. But in the real world, it's actually heavier materials, right, that make things hard. But you want heavier materials on the bottom because you want to be able to provide support for everything that's going to stack up on top of it, because it's going to get heavier. And if you don't have something heavier on the bottom, then you're either going to sink into the soil and the land, or you're going to topple over. And we don't want to do that. So support is something that we have to think about when we're engineering. Another thing we want to think about is stability. So that's kind of another word for support. But if we're thinking about support, we're thinking about, okay, how heavy the material is on the bottom, right? Because we want it heavier on the bottom than we do on the top. We also have to think about width. And that is, we probably will want it wider on the bottom than we do on the top. And then how are we holding it up? If we're not holding it up by width or by weight, is there a different way to do that? So those are questions I want in your mind while you're engineering. And I think bridges use that as the best example. And they kind of cover things that you would talk about in other buildings too, which is why I'm going to focus on bridges. So there are several different types of bridges. In fact, there's about 7 different types of bridges. But I'm going to focus on just a couple, because I think those are the ones that you might be able to recreate with your newspaper. So there's a beam bridge, which is just those flat ones. So think of those of the ones kind of like over the interstate. So if you're driving and there's another bridge over you, that's kind of just a beam bridge, which means it's one long line and then there's 2 supports. Then there's the arch bridge, right? That kind of goes, and those are kind of the ones you see in fairy tales, that you can see those wooden bridges that kind of go up and over. And that's how they do support, right? Because if you had just flat, sometimes you're not going to be able to keep all the weight. So if you distribute the weight on 2 different ends and do an arch, it makes things a little easier. So there's an arch bridge, and then there's a suspension bridge, which you might see like over rivers, or sometimes railroads are on them, where those are the ones where you see the beams coming out from beneath them, and those are suspending the bridge, right? But giving them additional support. So besides just the 2 on the ends, there's additional support beams on the bottom of it in the middle. And those are called suspension bridges. And then there's cable stayed, which means that sometimes they use a form of suspension on the bottom, usually 1 rod, but a lot of times they're on top with 1 rod and then cables coming through them. And they use cables as a form of support to help keep the bridge up. Now, I don't think we can recreate cables, but we see a lot of those bridges, so I wanted to mention them. So I want you to think about those types of bridges, how they work, why they work the way they do because of how they're supported, and then we're going to go ahead and do our challenges. So before I go into showing you kind of what the challenge is, I do want to explain a few things. So on your challenge card, it will say 2 sheets of paper or 8 or 10 sheets of paper. When it gives you a number of sheets, when I mean a sheet of paper, I mean 1 giant square. So this counts as 1 sheet of paper. You can use all the tape that's been given to you, and if you want, you can also use, like I said, the edges of tables or chairs to help you with that bridge challenge. I don't want you to use it on the other challenges, but if you want to help it with the bridge challenge, go ahead and use it. And then you can use any and all the playing cards that you've been given for your last 2 challenges. So I hope you have fun, and here we go. Okay, so I got it standing, but I had to go back and rethink my design. So I now have a triangle base with the first roll, or first sheet, and then it goes up into the second sheet. And I ended up using all 12 inches of my tape. But this is as tall as I could get my tower to be. I challenge you guys to make an even taller tower. Okay, so I made a beam bridge, don't mind my toesies. And what I have used as my supports on each end of my beam bridge is my chair and my desk. So I used about 4 sheets of paper and I folded them in 4 times. And then I used tape to keep those together and tape on each side. And I ended up using about all 12 inches of my tape because I wanted it to make sure that it stuck. So now we're gonna see if it will support the weight of a book. I don't know, you guys. Do you think it's gonna support the weight of a book? I don't know. I just moved my chair. So this is the beam. This is the book. Oh, it didn't support it. What do you guys think I need to do to support the book? So your 4th challenge is to build a tower with as many cards and as tall as you can. Now your cards are gonna look something like this. They might be Uno cards, but they're gonna be about this size. I used recycle cards, so that's why nobody might have the same deck that looks exactly the same. And this is a hard challenge, so it's okay for your grown-up to help or to ask for your grown-up's help. I am a grown-up and I have problems with this challenge, so know that it's okay. And it's also know that it's okay to go back into your design process and go, maybe I'm gonna change it. So I'm gonna show you the way that works for me. Now you'll notice that a lot of my cards already bend in the middle. That's because it's been used for other building challenges, and it's been found out by some people, it works for some people, that if you bend it, it's easier for them to stand up. So I'm gonna do them as tall triangles. So you'll see a tall triangle here. I'm gonna build a tall triangle next to it. And I find that the closer you can get the triangles next to each other, the more support you'll provide. And so you can make your bottom and then grow it as tall as you want. I'm just gonna do a real simple one to show you kind of how I do it. So I have 2 different triangles here, and I'll kind of move my camera so you can see them a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to move one on top of it very gently. And then I'm gonna try to do one more. So I'm basically making one giant triangle out of triangles. And you might see, oh, it's gonna fall. But you'll see kind of that that's what I wanna do. And I'll show you a photo of a completed one, because like I said, this is really hard. But I also wanna show you a few different ways to do it. So I showed you what I find works best for me, which is the tall triangle. But there's a lot of people that might do the kind of triangle that looks like this. So it's shorter and longer. So it looks more like that. Or there are some people that might even try to build like a triangle like this. I don't even know if I can do it, but I've seen people do it this way, and they think this makes a stronger base for their tower. So maybe that's what you want to do. There we go. Whatever you think will work for you. And if you make a tower and it looks beautiful, even if it doesn't, I'm proud of you for trying. And please send me pictures. I would love to see what you guys end up doing. I'm going to try one more time for this other one. It's so hard, especially with just 2 hands. So that's why I said sometimes it's nice to have a grown-up or a partner to help you do this challenge. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I don't know how people do this. Oh well, that's my design, right? I'm like, okay, there's a flaw in that design for me, so I'm going to try building it the other way. And that works for me. So that's where I would be going into my engineering process, and I'd be going, I don't like that one. I'm going to do this. Your fourth and final challenge is to find a way to organize your cards and then knock them down like dominoes. So I like the way it looked when we did our foundations with the triangles. So I just put them in a row. But how cool would it be if you could put them in some other direction, or make it like a circle like you might see with other domino stuff, or a zigzag? And then what you're gonna do is you're just gonna push one down and see it go. Thank you for joining us for STEM Club this month. I wanted to let you guys know that this will be our first STEM Club for a while, or our last STEM Club for a while. Sorry about that. We won't come back until November for STEM Club because school has started for you guys, and I'm sure you're busy with fall sports and school, and I'm getting married. So we'll take a little bit of break, have our own fun, and come back in November with some brand new STEM Club activities. I hope you guys have tons of fun. And just because school has started and we don't have summer reading doesn't mean you don't have to come into the library. We'd love to see your face. So see you guys soon.